Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, as always, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So this is our class. We're calling this class Ashlag Kabbalah 102, because in this class, we're going to be reading directly from the articles. The other class is slightly more introductory, because we're reading from a book that's a compilation that just takes little excerpts from everywhere. And so here, if we apply ourselves, we'll be able to go through all the articles, or keep going through the articles of the Bala Sulam, and really start to become, this is a primer for learning Kabbalah and practicing Kabbalah and doing Kabbalah. So that's what we're doing here. So I just want to say, every class, I start the class, and before the class, leading up to the class, I always think to myself, what can I say in this time of war, in this time of tremendous crisis, to try to explain to people what it is that Kabbalah is, and why Kabbalah is specifically the solution for what we're going through in this world. And so I just want to say that, we see that, we're here in Israel, and that we're in the middle of a war, and we're not only in a physical war, but we're also in a media war. And we see tremendous amount of hostility, and it seems to us, at least, and our friends and the friends of the Jewish people, it seems almost, bizarre that people are angry, and everything that happens, people turn it upside down, and we're just flabbergasted. We're like shocked that people are so, attacking the Jewish people, and this, of course, has happened many times throughout history. And so I want to just respond with exactly what the Bala Sulam says and what the Torah says. And so the Torah says that the Jewish people workshopped a specific method, and why the Jewish people were chosen, and how they were, after many kinds of, machinations, this method was given to a very select group of people in history. That's something that the Bala Sulam discusses, but let's not go into that right now. Let's just make the point that in Kabbalah, it says that the reason why the people of the world are upset with the Jews is because the Jews have this method for uniting above oppositional forces, making peace between different forces. And anytime the world goes into crisis, it's cyclical, and as we move closer and closer to the end times, we end up with bigger and bigger crises, and people are upset because they feel subconsciously, either for good or for bad, that the Jewish people somehow, they can't articulate this, but they feel deep inside that the Jewish people have a method, have a way for bringing peace to the world. And the Bala Sulam explains that this is the method of Torah and Mitzvot, and that Kabbalah is the stripped down version of this methodology so that we can understand it. And so if we are not practicing this method, Torah and Mitzvot, with the internal aspect, with the internal meaning and purpose of creation, if we're not doing that, then, and we're not sharing it with people who are ready to hear it, that is what is bringing on the anger and the hostility from people around the world. And so that's why this class and the other classes in Kabbalah and any classes in Hasidut or Torah and Mitzvot that present this method to the world is literally the only way, according to Kabbalah, that the world is going to make peace with us, and the people are going to be happy with the Jewish people. So yes, we have to fight with the weapons, with the military, and yes, we have to fight in the media, and we have to do all those things, but we should know that at the very root of everything is the fact that the Jewish people have, and if you really want to explore this, you can learn it inside. The Bala Sulam explains this point by point, how it is that the Jewish people ended up with this specific mission. We're not going to go into that now, but it's definitely covered in the articles of the Bala Sulam, and eventually we will get to an article that dives deep into this issue and explains it. It sounds very unlikely, but that's exactly what the Bala Sulam says, that this is what we're up against. And so everybody is a soldier in some way or another. If you're working, whatever you're doing, you're somehow working for the war effort. So the people who are here, who are connected to us, who are learning Kabbalah, this is our task, to not only learn Kabbalah, but to practice the method of Kabbalah, and to show to make it available to the world and to show the world that we are in fact living up to our obligation, to our Brit. We have a Brit with God to be the light unto the nations, and that we're actually doing this work, and we have to show it better so that people who want to attach themselves to this process have the opportunity and see that the Jewish people are in fact doing this work. Okay, I hope that made sense. Here we go. We're going back into the article. We're learning the article, and this article is called Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, where the Baal HaSulam begins to explain the Torah and Mitzvos according to the inner aspect, the secret aspect, the language of branches and roots, which explains all of the worlds in spirituality and how we ended up in this place and how we work ourselves back up. And that's what we've been discussing. And so let's go into the text. Through the natural remedy of the engagement in Torah and Mitzvos lishma, meaning for her sake, meaning for God's sake, which the giver of the Torah knows, as our sages wrote in Kedushin 30b, that's the Gemara, the Talmud, the Creator says, I have created the evil inclination, I have created for it the Torah as a spice, as medicine. So this is what we've been saying all along, is that God wanted to create a beautiful world, a world where we gives over pleasure to the created beings, and God knew that the most ideal way of giving over pleasure, the highest pleasure, would be if the created beings had an opportunity to be like God, to not only be a receiver of everything, but to be not only to be a receiver, a taker, a recipient of all the great things, but also to be able to participate and become a giver in our own right. And that's why we have free will, and that's why all of these cascading worlds happened. Each time a decision was made. Imagine you wanted to fix a car. So first you'd say, I need a garage. And then you get the garage, and then you say, I need this, and I need that. So this is how the world came into being, is that we, the created being, said, I don't want to just take everything. I want to become closer to God by becoming like Him. And so a decision was made to leave all the goodness of the world of Ein Sof, to say, I don't want anything for free anymore. From now on, I want to do the work of trying to do it of being in this relationship and being a participant in this relationship. I don't want to just get everything for free. Just like kids in the house, a rich kid, and 14, 15, everything is fantastic, and all of a sudden 16 years old, and the kid says, I don't want to take anything for free anymore. I want to make it on my own. I want to get a job, and I want to become a big shot on my own. And so this is a very natural method, a very natural science that we can understand very clearly. Okay? So what we're witnessing is a cascading of all these worlds down to this world where we can start to do the work of becoming givers. That's what's happening. And we do that by balancing all of the different forces in nature. So I'm going in different directions, but the point is that this method is the method by which we put everything back together. So if people are fighting and people are angry at each other, it's because they're separated and they can't make peace between them, between different forces. And so that's what the Torah and Mitzvot came to do, for us to repair all of the damage that happened when we came down to this world. It's complicated, but the more we hear it, the more it's going to make sense, and ultimately it's very logical and makes intuitive sense what's being said here. Okay, let's keep going. Thus, that creature, meaning us, the creature, the creation, develops and marches upward in degrees of the above spoken exaltedness until he loses all remnants of self-love, and all the mitzvos in his body rise, and he performs all his actions only to bestow. So even the necessity that he receives flows in the direction of bestowal, so he can bestow. This is why our sages said the mitzvos were given only to cleanse people with. So the language is a little bit clunky and old-fashioned, but what's being said here is very simple. If you're in a relationship with somebody and they give you a present, you either take the present and enjoy it yourself, or you say, ooh, I have this present, now how do I get even closer to this person? So if somebody says, I want, you go on a date, and the person says, I want to take you on a date, I want to take you to this very good restaurant. So you go to the good restaurant, When you get there, you can either say to yourself, your kavana, your intention, your motivation could either be, wow, I got a free lunch. I don't like this person too much, but I got a really amazing lunch, right? And we know that we have, we see videos, if anybody's on social media, which I recommend they're not on, but if you're on social media, you see these kind of videos where a guy asks a girl out and then the girl really just wants whatever the gifts are. She doesn't want the relationship. And so what we're trying, and that goes both ways, men and women, obviously. So what we're talking about here is that when we get something, we can either use it selfishly or we can use it to get even closer to the oneness, to everybody, to the whole community, to the whole world, to nature, to God, right? This is what we're talking about. And so it seems so simple, and it's what we tell kids. But when we start to do the work, we see that this is such a difficult task that it takes 6,000 years to accomplish, and it takes 620 levels. So it says, the Baal Shem explains from the Gemara, that God gave the Jewish people, I think we say in davening Uvalat Zion, I think we say that because God loves us, He gave us so many mitzvos. So what does it mean? That He gave us many, many, many little steps we could take. So if you're going up a mountain and each step is like a giant, where you have to pull up each step, it's very hard, even if there's only 30 steps. But if you have 300 steps and each one of them is like this, you can walk up comfortably. And so this is what we're talking about, is that 620 different mitzvos for accomplishing this, and all this time. So the whole cycle of all the holidays and all these things that we're doing are all the structure for this internal work. That's what we're talking about. Makes sense, right? Okay. There are two parts in the Torah. Is this recording? It's recording? Yeah. Both, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll cut that out when we... okay. There are two parts of the Torah. One, mitzvos between man and God, and two, mitzvos between man and man. And they both aim at the same thing, to bring the creature to the final purpose of the vekus with Him. Okay, I'm going to read it again. There are two parts of the Torah. The mitzvos between man and God, and the mitzvos between man and man. And they are both aimed at the same thing, to bring the creature to the final purpose of the veikut with Him, with God. Now, so we know we have the 10 commandments. Half of them are between you and your fellow man, and half of them are between you and God. So here, that's the amazing thing about learning Kabbalah of Ashlag. Rav Ashlag, he tells you secrets over and over again. Every time you read a paragraph, you hear secrets. It's the same thing. These are two halves of the same whole. God is a unity. God is everything all at once, which is very, very hard for us to deal with, because we're dealing with a finite being dealing with the infinite. So therefore, the way the world was created, and this is something we have to learn step by step and step, we're going to learn, but all the people we see around us are really parts of ourselves. But they're broken, the shattering of the vessels in Kabbalah. So when we broke apart, we were all together, receiving all the pleasure, and then we broke apart into all these little pieces because God wanted us to put it back together. It's like, imagine you get you have a beautiful painting, and your daughter or your son says, "I love this painting," so you buy them the puzzle so they can put it back together themselves, so they can have ownership over this painting. It's exactly what God did. He wants us to have ownership over what He's giving us. So He didn't want us just to receive, because although God could do that, and He did do that in the world of Ein Sof, there's something limited about that. And what's limited about it is that God is the giver and we're the receiver, so we're very far away from Him. This is very true. If you want to see a perfect example of this, go to a party. And you'll see that the people who are throwing the party, even though everybody's smushed into the same space, go to a fancy restaurant. You'll see that even though everybody's in the same area, they have these restaurants where the kitchen is open and you can see them cooking the food. Everybody's in the same space, but half the people are giving the food to the other people, and the other people are taking the food. So there's a huge rift between these two people, even though they're coming together to do something. So God wants not only to be a taker, but to be a giver like Him, so you feel what it's like to be a giver. And you have two parts of yourself. You have the giving part and the receiving part. Guess what that's called? A relationship. God wants a relationship with us. Kabbalah is the method by which we improve the relationship by becoming similar to Him. So if you have a friend and your friend just constantly wants you to drive him somewhere and lend him money, it's a certain kind of relationship you have with him. But if he sometimes lends you money and you sometimes lend him money, and sometimes you drive him somewhere and sometimes he drives you somewhere, it's a much different relationship. So God wants the better relationship with us. It's very simple, right? But we have to do it. We have to do the work. Okay. I made a bracha before the camera went on. Okay. I have to say that. We have to make sure that people know we are a Orthodox, observant outfit over here. Okay, very good. Yes, it's good to say it. Furthermore, and again, we said last time that they will have classes about how to connect the outside of the work and the inside of the work for people who are observant, doing the whole Torah the right way. That's a very big conversation, but let's not have that now. Let's keep it in the text. Okay. Furthermore, even the practical side in both of them is really one and the same, because when one performs an act of lishma without any mixture of self-love, meaning without finding any benefit for himself, then one does not feel any difference whether one is working to love one's friend or to love the Creator. Secret. These are secrets of like quantum physics, beyond quantum physics. These are the spiritual laws of the universe. What they're saying here is that when you are able to get to the level where you do something for somebody just because you love them and just because it feels like that's what you want, without what and at all, you never thought why it's going to help you. It's not going to help you. It helps you or it doesn't help you. It's not even in your mind. You don't care. You just want to be giving in bestowal to this person. What the Baal Shalom is telling you there, when you do that, you will see God. You will experience God. God will reveal himself through the person. So now imagine, you have these great rabbis, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and people would come to him, and he just wants to help them. This is like a neural net. We have all of these, we have the internet, and every computer is part of this neural net that brings us this reality. So you're saying, where is God? God is not here. Why did God make a world where I don't see him? Okay, this is the method for revealing God, Torah and Mitzvot. And so when you enter into bestowal, what's going to happen is the whole world is going to become, a switch is going to be thrown, and all the connections between every single person and every rock and every plant and everything is going to be connected. What's going to happen when it's connected? It's going to be like, imagine you saw electricity, you were sitting and you saw electricity between all of us. Now imagine between the electricity, you saw a wholeness. You see this like when you see like they try to represent like an acid trip or fractal patterns or any of these things like, right? These trippy things, these paintings, they're trying to hint to you that really everything you're seeing is one thing with energy flowing through it, right? There's an atom in me, there's an atom in you, and all of these things are somehow connected and we don't see it. And this is exactly what happens to a person. When they enter into this higher consciousness, everything becomes godly. And everything is a message to them, and everything that they're doing is a message to God. That's the relationship. So look where we are with technology, and look where we are with like all of psychedelics, and people are interested in mushrooms and psychedelics and stuff. This is what the Torah is. We should not think it's something else. That, there's quantum physics and mushrooms and LSD, and there's being nice to people, and then there's this other thing, the Torah, and there's the Jewish people, and there's the rest of the world. No. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get to a place where we flip a switch and everything becomes connected. Yeah. And we all feel that sometimes. Sometimes you feel some connection outside of yourself between people. Let's say you're surfing or you're having a very beautiful day and you feel just like the magic and the electricity between people. You feel it. So what the Baal Shalom is saying is we need modern language to understand how to get there, because people are confused and people weren't ready to do this in 400 years ago and 800 years ago. Very few people were able to do this, right? They would they do all this kind of work. And so what the Baal Shalom is saying is, let's get a uniform language. Let's talk about giving and taking. And from that language, if you focus on that, your motivation, whether you're trying to give or you're trying to take, and you start to realize that that's the thing that you're trying to fix, you will be able to do this work, and you get together with people who are also speaking the same language. We can all do this work, and this is what we're talking about. Okay, so it's very magical. It's very like futuristic. It's a beautiful, wondrous thing that we're talking about, and we have to like leave behind our old way of thinking about things, because there's information inside of the Torah that we haven't been using because we've been in galut, in the exile. We haven't been ready for it. And now,
Not
yes?
revealed also.
What?
But that's not yet revealed.
So everything is revealed and becoming more revealed. And so some people are an atheist living in somewhere in whatever, and they have very little revelation. And here you have a tremendous amount of revelation of what's going on. And there's people who are more advanced than you who have even more revelation. So it's like the example that I like to give, I don't know if it's in Kabbalah, but imagine there's a gate, one of the gates to go into the old city of Jerusalem, to go to the temple. So imagine there's 20,000 people going through the gate. So it's very, very, only 2, 3, 4 people can go through the gate at once. So even though Mashiach is inside the gate, and there's people walking in through the gate and saying, oh, Mashiach is here. Oh, higher consciousness is coming. Oh, the unity, I see what's happening. I see I'm here. But there's people who are just before the gate, and they are hearing that what you're saying, but they have to go through the gate to see it. And there's people who are 20 feet back, and there's people who are 50 feet back. And so it's like we're all one group of people. We're all one soul, but some people are entering right now, and some people were entering 3 years ago, and some people are entering 100 years ago. 5 other Rashi and Rambam and Ramban and then the Bala Sulam, and then these people entered already. But we're part of the same unified soul, but we're all going when we go in. So that's why it says in one of the first lessons in Kabbalah is that a person has to awaken to this. A person wakes up every morning and says, "Oh, I want to be happy." And for me, being happy means getting a very cool, good car and a very beautiful house in 5 towns, and this and that, and getting into whatever they're thinking. That's okay. But if they're not thinking, I want to awaken to love and unity and figure out, is there a way for the whole world to come into balance and peace with everybody else, and for everybody to share in this beautiful thing and to raise our consciousness. If a person's not thinking that, then they're not going to have any interest in what we're saying here. They're going to go to another video. Right? So we are all, let's put it this way. Whatever has awakened inside of you, you can give it a name. You can call it Moshe Rabbeinu. You can call it the Baal Sulam. You can call it Aaron. You can go, as you take steps, you will look inside of yourself and you will feel that the names that you were learning about in the Torah are really names for your correction, for you fixing yourself. And when it wakes up, you'll say, oh, I feel Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why I famously say I went to lunch at Shlomo Gatzi, and he asked people, who's your favorite character in the Bible? And I said, we were going around the table, and I said, Esav. And everybody was very shocked. I said, because I know Esav. I know what it feels like to want to beat up everybody and to want to win and to want to take everything for myself. I know what that feels like. So that's a force that's awakened inside of me. And if I look for Avram Avinu, it's smaller, and I look for Yaakov, it's smaller, right? So we have to grow these. The light has to go into the vessel, and so when you go around all day long thinking about giving, you know what's going to happen? Avram Avinu is going to come to you in your heart. You're going to feel your Avram. You're going to feel that part of yourself, and you're going to see it. No one's going to have to tell you what Avram is. You're going to know what Avram is, who it is, what it is. It's you. It's all of us. Okay. Yeah? We have to learn how to read the Torah on this Kabbalistic level. Okay. This is so because it is a natural law for any being that anything outside one's own body is regarded as unreal and empty, and any movement that a person makes to love another is performed with a reflected light and some reward that will eventually return to him and serve him for his own good. Thus, such an act cannot be considered love of another because it is judged by its end. It is like rent that finally pays off. However, the act of renting is not considered love of another. Okay? Very simple. In simple English is that if I do something for you and I don't love you, meaning I don't feel you. So if you do something for your mother or for your kid, that's giving. You gave it away. You're happy. You had $5 and now your kid has $5 and you're completely happy. There's nothing else has to happen. You did exactly what you wanted. You wanted to give, right? But if I give you a lift to Tel Aviv, because I'm hoping that someday you'll be nicer to me when I see you in shul, or maybe you'll lend me money if I need money, or whatever else I'm thinking, that's not really love. That's a contract. I'm trying. So what the wisdom of Kabbalah is that as we learn to love people, they go from being a projection outside of ourselves to being inside of us. So if you have somebody you love, please God, your mother or your father or one of your children, and you close your eyes, they are inside of you. You feel them inside of yourself. You don't have to, so when you give something to them, you're giving it to yourself. I'm giving my daughter a new game. Who am I giving that game to? I'm giving to myself. I love myself and I love my daughter. She's part of me. That's it. The bigger. So I was once in a shul, and this man passed away. I think he passed away, and a rabbi, and somebody else got up to speak to him, and he said he took care of 500 people that he never told anybody. Not only with money, but with everything, with going to their house and helping them in every kind of crisis they had in their life. He had so he said, this person has a huge life. He was a very quiet person who would go in shul, you wouldn't notice him. So you see him very small on the outside, but on the inside, he's a huge person. He has 500 people that love him and that he loves, that he takes care of. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to expand this vessel of bestowal inside of ourselves and moderate our vessel of reception. So we know that, let's say we have a person who is an athlete. They want the exact amount of taking in order to win the race. So oxygen, food, everything they take in, they want to take in the right amount to get the job done. That is what is missing in the world, is that I don't know how much I need to take to get the job done, and I don't feel the reward, so I say, maybe I'll just eat more and more cake. Maybe I'll just collect more and more cars, right? And so we're out of balance. Look at the spheros. It's all about balancing all of these forces. We're in Sfiras HaOmer now, right? We're counting the Omer. What we're trying to balance all of these different energies for what? For the task of unifying and bringing God's purpose for creation to fruition, to be a partner with God and to make this thing happen. That's the balance. How much money do I need to get the job done for God, for the job that he gave me? So you're working for somebody and he says, I need you to go around the world and make sure and go look for, I don't know, we need some more metals for our factory. Mm-hmm. So you're now going to get the amount of money you need to get that job done. Okay? It's as simple as that. So when we say, how much money do I want? How much honor do I want? We want to know, how much do I need to do the job that I'm trying to do, which is to fix the world, love everybody, right? Simple as that. Okay. But making any kind of movement only as a result of love of others, without any spark of reflecting light, and no hope of any kind of self-gratification in return, is completely impossible by nature. It is written in the Tikkunei HaZohar about that with regard to the nations of the world, every grace that they do for themselves. Okay. When we say in Kabbalah, when we say the nations of the world, we mean everything inside of ourselves that's selfish. And when we say a Yid, a Jew, a Israelite, Yisrael, Yashar Kel, straight to the Creator, we mean that force inside of us that wants to be connected to everybody. We should not get confused. In Kabbalah, we're talking about the internal landscape. So when we say man and we say woman, when we say Jew and Gentile, we have to know that these are spiritual forces. And so we should only be all of the good characters that we mention and none of the bad characters. But unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, the work starts with recognition of evil, with acknowledging that the evil forces in the Bible, in the Torah, are inside of us. Egypt is inside of us. Paro is inside of us. When we do the corrections, we turn Egypt into a good place, and we turn Paro into a good leader. But we have to first, recognition of evil is now they don't teach you this in the revealed Torah, because if a person is not ready to do this internal work, it's much, much better that it says love in the Talmud. Love covers over everything. So it's very important that if a person is not ready to do the work, we don't force people. And the rabbis, the great rabbis of every generation, they know exactly what they're doing. And so their responsibility is to their community. And so if a person says 90% outside of the Torah, 10% of the inside of the Torah, and this is a gadol in Torah, don't think that you're all of a sudden, because you're reading an article by the Baal Shem, that you know better than these great rabbis. They know about their own people because they are communal souls. So they feel their own people and they know when it's appropriate. So if you say to your daughter, you can go when you're 15 years old, you can go to the high school party. And your neighbor says, no, my 15-year-old cannot go to that party. Don't get involved in other people's decisions making. They know their own. The Satmar Rebbe once got angry at somebody when he said the guy was, complaining about a lot of different things, and that was fine. And then all of a sudden the Satmar Rebbe asked the guy to stop and to be quiet. And so the Hasidim afterwards, they said, Rabbi, he was complaining the whole time for an hour, and then finally you said stop. What did he do that made you stop? He said he told me how I should treat you guys. He said he could tell me all the things he wants to tell me about how the world works, but once he starts telling me that I should do something different with my Hasidim, I tell him it's enough from him. So what I'm saying is that a person has to, this internal world, this internal language has to be something that a person awakens to. And we don't force it on somebody else, we make it available. And so there's something very deep in that takes years of Kabbalah to understand here. It says, but making any kind of movement only as a result of love of others without any spark of reflected light, a person cannot do any of this stuff, cannot actually act truly outside of their own nature. So I'm hesitant to go into what this means in Kabbalah because it's a lot of Kabbalah, but basically I'll try to do simply, and you hear it one time, and then you have to hear it many, many times. So in the world of Ein Sof, everything was together, and then the created being, all of us, the united soul of all of humanity, said, I don't want anything for free anymore. Okay? So when the created being pushed, that was Simsum Aleph, that is the first restriction in Kabbalah, when the created being, all of us, pushed away, said, I'm not taking anything else for free, then the light bounced back to God. And when that happens, light bounces back to us, a tiny little sliver. And that is called Or Chasidim, the reflected light. And so that light is the light that gives us power to do something to do a tiny little, the first mitzvah, to do something altruistically, to do something for somebody else. So let's think of an example we can think of in this world. Let's say you are going to Florida, you're going to go to the beach for spring break, and you want to drop 10 pounds. So normally, you get pleasure because you eat pizza. But now you want to go to the beach, and you want to look good, so you're not eating pizza. So there's a little bit of kind of pleasure that you get from saying no. Right? So they say about a mitzvah, that a mitzvah is anything that you do and you feel better about it afterwards. And Aveira is anything that you do and you feel bad about it afterwards, right? Yeah. So what we're saying here is that when we learn Kabbalah, when we start to learn all of the simsumim, all of the restrictions and how everything cascades down, we'll see that there is a light that you get from not doing something selfishly. And that light allows you to start to build. Okay, so that's what I'm saying it because the Baal HaSulam said it right here. Okay, and some reward that will eventually return to him and serve him for his own good. He's saying that we always calculate. I'm being nice to you and I invite you to lunch, but I'm thinking about all the ways that it's going to help me. You're going to say hello to me in public and you're going to be nice to me. Maybe you'll invite me over, right? So I'm always thinking about this and I can't stop thinking about that. Even there's no way to until I do Torah and Mitzvot. There's no way to actually, so we've never felt the feeling of just being happy because I gave to you. So, it says in the Gemara that a person could not move their little pinky if they didn't have self-interest in mind. A person would not do anything if they could not figure out how it's going to ultimately, so I'm sitting here and we're learning Kabbalah and I'm still thinking in the back of my head, how is this going to make me rich, taller, famous, happy, all these things, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's why when we're big boys and we graduate, we have to admit that I'm not doing everything just because I'm the most amazing person in the world. I'm doing things for myself. And out of that place, out of that darkness, we could start, that's why it's called a ladder, right? The master of the ladder, the Baal HaSulam. That's why from this little place of saying, hey, I wonder what it would feel like if I could do one thing today that I'm not going to get anything for. So like I'm in davening and I'm saying to myself, I need a house, I need a boat, I need this, I need this. And I'm saying, oh yeah, and this one guy, he's sick, he's in the hospital, he's having a heart attack, he should get better. And then and then as soon as I say that, I say to myself, oh, I'm sure God's going to like that I said that. That I'm talking about somebody else, and maybe he'll give me the boat faster because I said I care about this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. There's nothing you can do about it. And so that's what we're trying to. That's unless you're a tzaddik, unless you're Ravi Shimon, unless you're the Rav Nachman, unless you're the Alter Rebbe. These people did all this work. The Baal Asulam, they did this work. They know what it feels like. But from the outside, it doesn't look so good. It looks like they're sitting there all day and learning and wearing black and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, well, maybe I'll just go to the beach and I'll let somebody else worry about it. That's why the Baal Asulam says that if we don't do the task that the Brit, if we don't keep the contract up, the Goyim are going to get very angry at us because only we can do this and they can't do it. We can teach it. We can do it because we did it before. And I'm not going to go into this. There's a whole articles that discuss the entire history from Adam HaRishon all the way till now and how it ended up that the Jewish people ended up with the job. And I'll tell you exactly how it is. Go run a company. And you will see that when you have something that you need to get done, you try to find somebody to do it, and then you go out to this person, this person doesn't want to do it, and this person doesn't want to do it. And so eventually you will find somebody who wants to do it the most out of everybody. And so it's very, very logical. It's not something special. You say, oh, why the Jews? Why the Jews? You guys think you're special. No. So I'm saying, okay, who wants to be nice to everybody? You're having a party, and you tell somebody, do me a favor. Instead of sitting here eating pizza with these guys, I have a truck that's coming. Can you do me a favor and run outside? And, hey, dude, I can't. I'm speaking to this guy. And so you go around until you find somebody who says, fine, I'll go outside. Even though this is the biggest party of the year, I'll go outside and I'll wait for the van that's bringing more pizza. So just try it. You'll see it happens. And so for whatever reason, they looked around and found Avram Avinu. First they found Adam, and then Noach, and then Adam, and then Avraham, and then Avram had his kids, and he said, which kid's going to do this job? So he tried to see which one's going to do it, and then Yitzchak said, which one of my kids is going to do this? And then Yaakov looked at his 12 sons, he said, who's going to get this thing done? It's just normal, just how it goes. So we say to people who don't like this, okay, become Jewish. Okay, stay however you are and just get on the program. Help, go outside also and bring the pizza in with the guy with the van. Oh no, I don't want to do that. So okay, well, you're complaining that I'm giving a special title to somebody. This title to this person is that he's going outside during the party to go get the pizza for everybody else. And now you tell me you don't like that he's special. So you also be special. Go outside and I'll help him. That's all it is. It's not something that we have to get too crazy about. Everybody's invited to be a good person and try to become better. Okay? Let's keep going. How are we doing on time? It's past? 15 minutes past? Only 15 minutes past? Oh, we have 15 more minutes. Okay, very good. Okay, we're done for today. I hope that made sense. Thank you very much, people in the audience, people in online. You're invited to make comments, join us, and come to Alshich Academy website and become a member and participate financially with us. Okay, Am Yisrael Chai.